Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Elias Arjan on the line, and he's founder and CEO over at HealthSpan Productions. Elias, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Adam.
All right, man. So I'm excited to have you here today. For everybody listening, we got a lot of things to talk about here. So we're partnering both HealthSpan Productions and Mission Matters. We're going to be doing a longevity leadership conference in Los Angeles, California. That's going to be on June 5th and 6th. And for everybody listening, there's going to obviously be some links and stuff in the show notes, so you can click on the links, check out the tickets, and pick those up. And we'll get further into the conference as well. But before we do all that, Elias, I want to get into, HealthSpan Productions. Since we've worked on a number of gigs together and done a number of events, I think your company is highly interesting. I know how you're helping other companies succeed in their plans. Let's start there to set the ground for the overall conversation.
Yeah, that's great, Adam. And it's good to be here with you and to be collaborating with you on our events. You always bring a lot to the table. And so as far as HealthSpan Productions, I have a sort of 30-year background in sort of seeking high performance through athletics, cognitive training, business performance. It's sort of been a lifelong passion of mine. And 7 years ago, I guess I was one of the early adopters into the biohacking, now longevity, now healthspan movement. So
7 years ago?
7 years ago. So I was very
Wow, I
early.
didn't know that was a thing. I'm late on the bandwagon. I'm maybe 2 years in. I'm like, dang, 7, I didn't even know. Continue. So I lost 5 years.
I definitely.
I lost 5 years of biohacking. That's some bull.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I was one of the first people. In fact, because biohacking was so new at the time, my name became associated with it in Los Angeles. I had people flying in from Europe and Asia just to interview me about this new movement, which still continues to this day. Although I'm not directly aligned with biohacking as a term anymore, I've switched, and I feel like HealthSpan is ultimately what we should be talking about, because that, just for people not familiar with that term, everyone's familiar with lifespan, which is how long you live, but HealthSpan is for how long are you fully, vitally alive and healthy and functional. And we have the opportunity now to be the first civilization with a health span, to 100 that is healthy and vibrant. And that's kind of our mission, to make that possible for as many people on this planet as we can.
Now, how are you working with companies? Because at the end of this, I'm going to give you the opportunity to leave, some contact info and things like that. But I want to make sure that the right types of companies that are in this space follow up and connect with you and your team. Like, how are you working with companies?
So, we also have a company called Proven Research, because we realized one of the big gaps in the space was the ability to find out what works and what doesn't. So ultimately you have, right now, most of the health products that people are familiar with that they use through their doctor are what we call disease care. So, you get a disease, they give you a drug, they give you a treatment, but then we've waited until you have a disease, and that's essentially too late. With HealthSpan, your goal is to never get to that. But the problem is in the wellness space, it's a global industry of like $4.5 trillion, but we actually don't know what works and what doesn't. So one of the things we do with the companies is we help them gather evidence-based testimonials, we do research, and we help them prove, hence the name of the company, PRUVN, and we help them prove that their products work. So that's a big part of what we feel is needed. And then and there's other companies, you don't have to do the science with us. Like if we say that they have good science and they're based in evidence, our goal is to also bring them together at events like the Longevity Leadership Conference, the HealthSpan Summit. The goal is to elevate the highest quality companies and individuals, people who are ethical, people who are evidence-based, people who have good health solutions, because the public right now is confused.
Yeah.
And so we work with, through our events, through media, and through research, essentially, to just help these companies rise to the top. And even recently, as you know, at our leadership conference, we're starting to bring in investors. There's a lot more investment in this space. It's actually, as far as I know, longevity is one of the only spaces that still is rich for target investment. I mean, investors are circling around, whereas a lot of other industries are really struggling to find investors right now because of the economic climate.
But let's switch it up a bit, Elias. I want to go further into the Longevity Leadership Conference. For somebody that has not attended one in the past or heard some of our back episodes that we've done, we've definitely have, for our long-term listeners, I'm sure they maybe have even heard some of the recorded content on our podcast, which we distribute from time to time. But for those that haven't had the opportunity to attend, what can they expect? Talk about the experience.
So that one is an industry conference. So really, it's for people who are investors who are interested in longevity, because I said it's a target-rich environment right now for those investors. 2, it's for people who are doctors or medical professionals or health professionals of some kind that sort of just want to keep their pulse on what's happening, because we're bringing some great speakers in, like Dr. Shah, for example, the founder of Next Health. He has a podcast. He's a very well-known figure in longevity. He's going to come and talk about, both the business side and the research and the science side. So, and then also for, some founders, we do have founders and executives coming who are, sort of just having an opportunity to network with really the top people in the industry. It's a smaller group and it's industry only. So I work with Chirag, your partner, of course, and we kind of curate a group of about 200 people together who are all sort of industry insiders, elite individuals. So it's not expensive for what you're getting for that type of an industry conference that's specialized. Because we're trying to make this accessible and really just bring the best people together at the Verizon Innovation Lab in Playa Vista, which is an incredible venue.
What's your favorite part of putting these events together, specifically this one where and we'll talk a little bit about the one coming up in October as well, over in the HealthSpan Summit. I know is going to be coming up in October, and we're going to be working on that with you. I'm over at UCLA South Bay, so we'll get into that a bit. But this one specifically, what's your favorite part of being in the center of this type of an industry event and putting this on?
Well, I think it's ultimately just seeing, these leaders come together. Yeah. In my work, I'm often traveling and I meet different people at different conferences. Maybe I meet someone at a medical conference and then I meet someone else at a biohacking conference. And these two people have never connected before, right? Because they're in a little bit of a different silo. And so, by inviting them to an event, and this is really why I do these events, they get to meet and connect. And I've seen relationships happen. I've seen business partnerships formed. I've seen investment happen just because I've brought these people together at the event and they connected. And sometimes I formally do the introduction, but a lot of times, you're at an event, you're very busy, there's 200 people. But what always amazes me is the people that in my mind I thought, these two need to connect. They often just connect organically, and then I just get to see what comes of that. And I feel so fortunate to be in a position now in the industry after 7 years where I'm able to curate those environments and opportunities for people who I really believe in. I really believe in what they're doing.
Man, for me, I'll tell you that my favorite part is learning about something new, the new technology. Every time I'm in one of these things, that blows my mind. I'm like, what's going on? like you can do what? It just blows my mind every time when the presenters are giving something completely new. And I'm like, how is that possible or what? And, sometimes some of everything just progressing so fast. And to see these companies, and then also to get to meet the visionary leaders behind these companies who I think in myself, I'm like, all right, maybe I ask questions, I'm a host, I do a certain amount of, we'll say, entertainment. Maybe you're entertained, maybe you're not. If you're listening to this, you're probably a little entertained. You haven't shut me off yet. But when I think about the big problems they're tackling in this space, I'm blown away. I'm like, man, how did you come up with this idea? And then you hear about let's just say the entrepreneurial journey of what it's taken them to get it to market, or where they're at with it, or how they're trying to scale it, or their next plans for it. It's just man, this is how advances are made, and that many of us are going to benefit from. I like it. I'm like, man, I want all of these smart people working on my HealthSpan. I want all of them working on it, because that's one thing that we all have in common is we got a HealthSpan, and I want all you smart people working on it. And every year I go and get my knowledge so that I can implement something new. So I'm in. That's why I really do it. Yeah. I'm like, how are we going to get that HealthSpan? I don't need to do the rest. I'm like, we got enough conferences. I'm doing it for a very selfish reason.
Well, I know that you do so many different events, Adam, and I can sometimes tell your eyes get wide when you're interviewing some of these founders, and you find out that the science fiction level kind of health technologies are actually in the market already or ready to go to market, and you kind of eyes go, what? That's really possible, and it really is an amazing time. And like you said, the industry is happening so fast that I feel like you have to bring together people in these conferences because they need to work with each other and know what's happening. Because literally, I try to keep my pulse on the industry, and I read journals, I read articles, I follow on the internet, and it's impossible to keep pace right now. The pace of change is so rapid. And also, too, a lot of people are hearing things that they think the pace of change is just all negative. There's a lot of negativity bias in the social media space. And what I love about our industry is, it's all positive. We're talking about health span. We're talking about improving quality of life. We're talking about improving brain health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health. These things are possible right now. And I think it's, people need to step away from the doom scrolling and orientate themselves in a place that's also going to make them happier and healthier right now. And that's another big reason why I do this, because when you find out that things are getting better, because there is a narrative that's out there that everything is just going to hell, and it's not. And I really enjoy the fact that we can maybe bring people, and that's maybe a bit more of what we do at the HealthSpan Summit, because that connects to people who are maybe outside the industry. But people from the general public, they get to come and say, oh, there's this whole world where things are actually very positive and bright, and, it gives them hope.
Yeah. And just to clarify that transition, so I do want to spend a minute or two on that one, even though for everybody listening, we're not going to go too far into the HealthSpan Summit today, because we'll definitely be bringing Elias on as we get closer to that one. And that's going to be October 4th and 5th at UCLA South Bay. And that's a whole different experience. And that's for the general public to come and it's not just industry only, even though there's a lot. I went last year and there's a lot of industry people there as well. So it's not saying that people from the industry can't go and network. And I do recommend it because, there's a ton of people with a huge footprint. Maybe just spend a minute or so on that one, Elias, and just to kind of give people a preface of what's going to be happening in October.
Yeah, so that's a very different type of event. The Longevity Leadership Conference in June is, like I said, industry only, kind of like a boutique event. Although if you're an investor or a doctor who maybe isn't in longevity and you're interested, you're definitely invited to join us at that event. That's a big part of what we're trying to do, but we're introducing it to more of people who are on the professional side, whereas the HealthSpan Summit is open to everyone. We have a lot of brands exhibiting. We have a lot of education. We have 2 stages. It's an indoor-outdoor event, so there's like a summit inside. There's an exhibitors indoors and outdoors. There's food. It's a festival environment, as well, because it's outdoors. So it's really a much larger footprint on a beautiful venue. UCLA South Bay is overlooking the Pacific Ocean in Catalina Island. It's just a stunning property. And, that is really the grand opportunity for everybody to connect. And to your point, Adam, I was surprised last year when we produced that. We had industry people fly from all over the world. We had investors from Europe, Australia. We had attendees from Canada, and medical professionals come from just, all over the world because they wanted, what I was saying, they want to be in a place where their peers are at the cutting edge of what they're doing. And it was an opportunity for them all to connect. And I was actually, I didn't even know, I wasn't doing advertisements in Europe, you know what I mean? And people just showed up. So it was pretty amazing.
I met him. I was like, whoa, you're all the way from, I was trying to complain about traffic coming from LA to South Bay. I was trying to complain and I was talking to one lady. She's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, the traffic this morning, it's Sunday. How was there any traffic? I think I went on Sunday. Well, I went Saturday and Sunday. I think it was 2 days last year. And I'm like, how was there any traffic this morning? That's impossible. What are these people doing? And I'm like, and I'm over here complaining, like we do in LA. And she's like, I came from Europe. I'm from this. And I'm like, oh, never mind. I'm like, well, fine. We still get to, it's my right as a Californian. We get to do, that's what we get to do. Well, Elias, man, I'm looking forward to working with you again on this next conference. That being said, for everybody listening, definitely we're going to have some links in the show notes so you can click on it and check out the conference. And if somebody wants to connect, Elias, about either of your companies or just connect with you and follow you, how do they do that?
What's really great is my name is kind of unique. So if you just look up my name, ELIASARJAN, you will find me. My companies are Proven, PRUVN.io. And then all of the events that I'm part of is a speaker or an MC or a producer or on healthspanevents.com. So that's Healthspan, Health span events.com. And I really am also providing information at these events. I'm starting to do a little bit more on, social media and podcasting. I've been doing for a long time, so you can see a lot of podcasts that I've been on in the past. Because everybody deserves to have a really longer and happier health span. And we do that by coming together, though. And as much as I love social media and podcasting, the magic happens when people are physically in the same space. And that's why I'm still believing in events. I don't think AI is going to replace human connection. So let's all get together and connect in person and have a great time together, because that's really important in this era as well.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And also for my listeners, just understand the magic also happens when you listen to this show. So definitely, if you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button, because this is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Elias, man, great having you on today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam. Hope to see you all at one of our events, and it's a great show, so I agree. Make sure you follow Adam. He's always doing the best stuff.